It being actually a little after 6:30, we are going to call the meeting of the Community Preservation Committee to order. If we could begin with a roll call, that would be great.
Chairman Backey.
Here.
Vice Chair Baez-Rose.
Here.
Member Buteneyes.
Present.
Member Lowell.
Here.
Member DePizza.
Here.
Member Nadi.
Here.
Yep. Member DeJesus, Member Tenzar, and Member Shea are all absent.
All right, but we do have a quorum, so we will begin the meeting. And the first order of business tonight is the review and approval of the meeting minutes from our May 15th meeting. Do we have a motion regarding the minutes?
So moved.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion or edits? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Yeah.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. So the majority of our business this evening is to determine the eligibility of a number of proposals that are before us. And for those who have followed this committee in the past, following the good advice of the statewide organization of community preservation committees, we do a two-stage process with applications that are before us every year. And the first stage is just to review them simply for whether they are consistent with the somewhat complicated rules of what is eligible for this particular source of funding. And if they are consistent, we then invite them to submit an application that will be considered later in the fall for potential funding. And if they're not eligible, we will advise them as to why, and they can either revise to become eligible or consider seeking other sources of funding. We have 4 eligibility applications before us this evening. We typically don't need to have testimony with respect to these from the applicants, but I will ask in case there is anyone here or who has joined us online who wishes to explain any of these applications before us. So the first one tonight is 91 Dutton Street, which is also known as the Cobblestones Restaurant. An application has been submitted by New York Ventures to replace the windows at 91 Dutton Street. The applicant is seeking $468,670.95 for the project, and they are seeking an eligibility determination. Do we have anybody who wants to comment on from the applicant? All right, hearing none. Any questions or discussion from the group, from the committee members? We do have a staff recommendation that this project is eligible as a historic preservation project. Do we have a motion to that effect?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second? Sounds like
I'll second the motion.
Second. Any further discussion? All right. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Chairman Backey.
Yes.
Vice Chair Baez-Rose.
Yes.
Member Lowell.
Yes.
Member DePizza.
Yes.
Member Buteneyes.
Yes.
Member Nadi.
All right, that one is deemed eligible. We look forward to the application. The next one is an eligibility application for 267 Pawtucket Street. An application has been submitted by the Bridge Club to convert the existing historic building at 267 Pawtucket Street into 29 affordable housing units for homeless veterans. The applicant is seeking $500,000 for the project, and they are seeking an eligibility determination. And I believe they're claiming eligibility as both a historic preservation project and potentially a community housing project as well. Is that correct? And again, I think we have a staff recommendation that it is eligible. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak or comment on behalf of the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, Bob Cox, Executive Director of the Bridge Club of Greater Lowell. Through you to the board, very much appreciate the opportunity to speak before the board today, or this evening. This project really is really something that we had not intended on being involved with, but as luck would have it, or this turns out to be a perfect, I think, application to the Community Preservation Fund or Committee, being the fact that it checks off a couple of the boxes. It checks off historic significance. The building, I think committee members were given the Lowell Cultural Resource Inventory sheet that we had provided, but all the information is there, obviously. But the building was built in 1824, served historical significance, being the first location of the first town meeting or organizational meeting prior to Lowell even becoming a city. So, I mean, there's really some serious deep-rooted history here. It served all kinds of public service functions through its history. Originally built as a hotel and a bar, I guess, and a private residence, and then from that point became a home for troubled women and an orphanage. And then in 1964 was purchased by St. Joseph's Hospital for the Sisters of Charity, the Grey Nuns, the Sisters of Charity from Ottawa, Canada. And it served as their convent as they worked in the hospital and did services up at Duville Manor Nursing Home. So it really has had a limited number of owners throughout the years. We were hoping to become the next owner of the property as a nonprofit. And I will tell you, the Sisters of Charity of Ottawa expressed their pleasure in the fact that the knowledge that what the Bridge Club does, we're an addiction recovery center, but we also delve into re-entry for people getting out of prison. They're trying to restart their lives. And most recently, got deeply into veteran services through a national grant through the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. It's a 3-year, multi-year grant serving veterans, providing them job opportunities, vocational training, things like that, to get them and their lives back on track. We were fortunate enough, and the reason I'm telling you this is because Pawtucket Street is going to be a perfect segue to another property that we were able to acquire just this year. In May, we closed on 147 East Merrimack Street. We were fortunate enough to obtain a 5-year contract from the VA out of Bedford to provide 15 beds of transitional housing to homeless veterans.
Sir, I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt you, and I think that is all important, good content, but the only thing before us this evening is a fairly straightforward determination of whether this is eligible to invite an application.
Fair enough.
The larger application, you will have an opportunity to present to us, because I am pretty confident we will find this one eligible. So we do look forward to a more robust presentation about your project.
I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
In the fall.
Very good.
All right.
Thank
you.
you. Appreciate it.
Do we have a motion regarding the eligibility of this project?
I actually have a question about eligibility. So for historic, it's pretty clear that it's eligible for acquisition. But for housing, since they don't own it yet, does that matter?
If I could interject,
I think, excuse me, sir, that's really not that's a question of the program, not so much what you plan to do. I think if they can use the housing, if it can fit within their budget, they can use it for renovating it for housing purposes, or renovating for historic preservation, but I don't think they can use it to acquire.
Oh, I thought they could.
Can they? Or
No.
It's
Acquire a
historic,
historic
yes.
building, yes.
Yes.
And so I guess my question is,
So-
they're asking for $500,000.
Yep.
So does it matter at this stage, or is that a question for the full application stage, that the portion of it that's for acquisition can be committed to the project in advance of them owning it to help with acquisition, and then any later housing funds would have to be contingent upon
Them
actually executing ownership? So this may be a later question, so I'm just trying to clarify, because I don't understand what we've done in the past.
I'm not sure we've had too many where someone was acquiring a property, but I think I think if the committee feels that it is a worthy project to fund, and that is not what was before us this evening, but if at a later point it determines that, I think that's the sort of thing that can be worked out administratively in terms of the sequence of acquisition and when the funding is dispersed.
Great, I just, assuming that that's not an issue, I think that this absolutely is a project that is both very clearly eligible for historic preservation. It's a gorgeous building, and I am happy to see that it's got a project that it will save that building as is. And also the creation of the type of housing that they're proposing, I think is also very clearly eligible for CPA. So that being said, I will make a motion to support its eligibility.
Great. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Any further questions, discussion on this one? All right. Guess a roll call on the motion.
Chairman Backey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byers-Rose.
Yes.
Member Lowell.
Yes.
Member DePizza.
Yes.
Member Budeneyes.
Yes.
Member Nady.
Great. And Mr. Cox, I believe it was, we look forward to hearing more from you later in the fall when you present the application and we evaluate it for its merits, not just its eligibility. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Next up is 415 Merrimack Street, which is also known as the Smith-Baker Center. An application has been submitted by the Smith-Baker Preservation Corporation for the restoration and rehabilitation of the Smith-Baker Center, located at 415 Merrimack Street. We have a full-scale model right out the window. They are seeking $859,236 for the project, and the applicant is seeking an eligibility determination. Do we have anybody who wishes to speak on behalf of this application?
Yes. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can.
Chairman Backey. Great. My name's Dennis McCarthy. I'm treasurer of the Smith-Baker Preservation Group, as well as the Lowell Center for the Arts. And our application is for remediation for hazardous material, namely the material that is in the Mill City Engineering Environmental report that was done by Brian Chapman for the city in March of 25. And so we think this would be a great use of CPC funds, and we look forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have questions or discussion from the board on this one? So I think there's no question the overall project is eligible as a historic preservation project. I think we'd have to make sure there's a review of the scope to make sure that the actual proposed scope aligns with eligible uses of the funds. I'm pretty confident there's going to be a fair amount of money needed in that. I've known that building for a while. And so I suspect there is an eligible project there, but I do want to warn you that hazardous material abatement might or might not be an eligible historic preservation use. I'm not 100% sure. And so that may be one that there needs to be some further consultation with the staff. But I am pretty confident you'll be able to put together a scope that would be eligible as historic preservation. Do others agree that we can suggest eligibility and encourage them to work with the staff around the scope?
Mr. Chairman, that was going to be my question, was whether or not the hazardous material is eligible, but as we all know, the building is historic, so I'm comfortable, making a motion to push it forward for eligibility and then making that determination if staff and everyone believe it's the right thing.
Okay. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion? All right, guess roll call on this one.
Chairman Backey,
Yes?
Vice Chair Byers-Rose.
Yes.
Member Lowell.
Yes.
Member DePizza.
Yes.
Member Budeneyes.
Yes.
Member Nady.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries as well. So, yeah, Mr. McCarthy, I do strongly encourage you, before you finalize your formal application, do consult with the staff at the DPD just to review what you're proposing to spend the money on in the application and make sure that it does align with program criteria.
Very
But we
good.
look forward to your application as well.
Thank you very much.
Next up, the fourth one we have this evening is for an affordable housing trust fund. An application has been submitted by the City of Lowell seeking $310,000 to be placed in the City of Lowell's Affordable Housing Trust Fund. The applicant is currently seeking an eligibility determination. And I don't know, are you going to be the speaker on this one?
I am going to be the speaker
right.
on this. So, and truth be told, I'm not sure that it's necessary for this application, so it's more a question, I guess, for the group. We had previously, in determining our budget for the year, had taken a vote to set aside, instead of the 10% minimum for affordable housing, that we would set aside 20%. So this number actually represents that. And so this is not a request in addition to that vote. This is essentially formalizing that. And so better safe than sorry. It's in, and we can make that determination. But moving forward, it is a question that I have, whether or not it's necessary for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to submit an application every year, or if it would just be determined as a part of the vote that this group took while determining the budget already.
I think the board would have to formally recommend that the funds be used in that way. And I think the city council would then have to appropriate them that way. But I do think if the board wishes to do so, the board could authorize that a certain percentage be automatically proposed to go to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund every year, and take that vote, this year, and have it be effective until the board changes its mind at some point in the future, if it ever did. So we could do that, or we could do it every year. I think, again, what's before us tonight is the application for eligibility, which is, I think, quite straightforward. But I will ask someone maybe other than Giovanni to make that motion, if someone would like.
So moved.
And do we have a second?
I was just going to comment, if I could, just for a second. I
Okay.
appreciate the staff giving the clarification. That was going to be my question, whether this was a double count. And so I'm happy to second the motion that Brad had just put forward.
Okay, thank you. Any additional discussion or questions on this one? All right. Guess we need a roll call for this one, please.
Chairman Backey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byes-Rose,
You can choose.
I'm actually not going to vote because it seems weird since it's coming from my department.
Yep. Member LaLatra,
Yes.
Member DePizza,
Yes.
Member Budinez,
Yes.
and Member Nadi.
Yes.
All right, I think that motion carries as well, so. The fifth order of business this evening is slightly different. Every year, we have pledged to pay the City of Lowell's dues to the Community Preservation Coalition, which is the statewide organization that provides technical assistance, outreach, and advocacy on behalf of municipal community preservation committees across the Commonwealth. And we've historically voted to pay dues into that organization and benefit from their advice and counsel, particularly when we were building up the program in the first place. They were of great help to us in understanding the program. And individual members are if we are members and have indeed paid our dues, individual members can tap them for technical assistance and training and resources as well, as can the staff. But we do have to take a vote of the CPC to authorize the use of funds to pay the dues. So that's what's before us this evening. Do we have a motion for the dues?
I'd like to make the motion. I think there has been a lot of value to the staff and us when we've needed guidance in participating in this. So I think we're sort of getting our money's worth.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Do we have any further discussion on that? All right, guess we need a roll call for that.
Chairman Backey,
Yes.
Vice Chair Byes-Rose.
Yes.
Member LaLatra,
Yes.
Member DePizza,
Yes.
Member Budinez,
Yes.
and Member Nadi.
Yes.
All right, we have a couple of additional business items, but before we get into that, I need to apologize to member ND because I didn't introduce her at the beginning. She is a new member at her first meeting, and I wanted to welcome her on behalf of the CPC and apologize that we just went through 5 votes or 6 votes before I had the chance to do that.
Oh, thank you very much for that very warm welcome. I appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to serving the public as I should. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Next up is the 2026 meeting schedule. Hard to believe it is almost 2026. And we were given a copy of that in our packets ahead of the meeting, our virtual packets, I guess. It just outlines the dates for when the council will meet, or when this committee will meet during 2026, and the filing deadlines for folks that are putting business on our agenda for those meetings. Our annual calendar is basically tied to an annual funding cycle. So we do a fair amount of meeting in the fall when we are determining eligibility, and then when we are actually hearing from applicants about applications. We then have deliberative meetings around the new year, around New Year's, to make recommendations to the City Council for appropriations. We do have an annual public hearing in the spring, and then business meetings as needed over the rest of the spring and summer, but very few of them typically. And this schedule reflects a similar model to what we've been doing in past years that seems to be working fairly well. I think we do need a vote to approve it. So do we have a motion to approve the schedule?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right. Do we, well, we can do a roll call, I guess. I don't need it, but we'll do one.
Chairman Backey,
Yes?
Vice Chair Baez-Rose,
Yes.
Member LaLatcher,
Yes.
Member DePizza,
Yes.
Member Budeneyes.
Yes.
Member ND.
Yes.
All right. And we have another item, discussion of deadlines for CPA funding. The committee will discuss whether to implement a deadline for when CPA funds must be spent after being granted. I'm guessing there might be somebody here who wants to provide some color around this one.
That'll be me. So it's something for the group to consider from a purely staffing perspective. So first of all, we're not required to do this. We don't need to. These funds don't like run out. And so if we commit them to a project and the project is taking a long time to kind of get itself going, setting a deadline would be totally sort of our choice and not something that we're forced to do through this legislation in any way. So I want to make that clear. The reason that it's come up is because from the management of these funds through the city's system, we essentially create grant agreements that can't run indefinitely. And so we are trying to create sort of timelines that allow, a decent amount of time for people to do their projects, and then build in opportunities to do like extensions or amendments to those agreements to allow for people to have that extra time. But that does just create essentially work for the staff. But separate from that, it also ties up these funds for an indefinite period of time. And so what we've run into is that once the vote happens, once we make a recommendation and the council votes on it, the auditor will essentially take those funds that we've identified, set them aside, and they're essentially held until they're spent down. And so if a project is making slow progress, they have the ability to, bill down as they're kind of doing construction, for example. But if they've made no progress at all of those funds are set aside and we can't tap into them as a potential, resource to fund other projects in a following year, for example, that may be significantly further down the path. And so it was just a question of like, what does this group want to do? Whether or not we, I think I'm torn because from a purely administrative perspective, I feel like there should be a like at some point you have to show some progress, or like you have to come back and try again. On the flip side, there's not a lot of funding that can be as flexible as CPA funds, and having that and having and so CPA funds also represent a commitment, I think, on behalf of the city of Lowell as well. And so I think it can go a long way for projects that are trying to gather other resources to be able to say, like, look, the city believed in us enough to grant these funds, which could help their other fundraising efforts to make the project happen. So I'm a little torn, if I'm being honest, and I'm not sure that I have a strong opinion one way or the other, but I did think that we've had enough projects take a while at this point, now that we've done this a few times, and have had on the staffing side to do quite a number of grant amendments to allow for the continued sort of holding of these funds, that I thought it was worth this group having a discussion about whether or not we thought creating some more firm deadlines for projects and telling people, you know, if you can't meet that deadline, no love lost, you're not ineligible for future requests. You can come in again with another application when you're further down, but we're not going to sort of hold these particular funds indefinitely. So just that's where this request is coming from.
Do we have thoughts from the members?
I've always thought that a deadline would be a good idea. It seems to me like we would never fund a project that's not going to be built for 5 more years. So why should we let it sit approved for 5 years just because they didn't actually have their ducks in a row or something changed? To be able to take this money back, I mean, we make the vote of confidence to approve the project because we like it, because we think it's eligible for those funds. There's no reason in my mind other than, you know, a wealth of better projects that we wouldn't re-award this money if and when the time comes that they're ready for it. So I would support a delay, a deadline wholeheartedly.
Other thoughts?
I had a couple quick questions on this. First one would be, when the money is sitting unused, is it sitting in a city account bearing interest at least? Is it sitting somewhere where we still,
Yeah, yes, it is.
All right, good. That's step one. Second question would be the deadline. Is there anything that would restrict us from having or giving the staff a may versus must type of deadline? Like the staff may put forward taking the funds back as opposed to must? Is there a better way? Which way would you rather see it?
I think if we went the deadline route, I think it would be important that it would be a directive of this committee and not up to staff interpretation.
Okay.
I think it would just overall, I think, be a lot sort of cleaner on the staff side, and also I think is kind of, in my opinion, the responsibility of this group to determine that, like, make that kind of firm deadline.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think that is our responsibility.
Yep.
And I'm not sure that's something we can delegate. And I am sure it's something we shouldn't delegate.
Good. I had one more question. Would this, we've seen now, this is my second year through this, but I know it's been for a little while longer than that. There are groups that will come back annually. And so I would just want us to be careful if we have a project that is going to need to come 2, 3, 4 times, that we don't set a deadline that's too short, which then puts us at risk of not being able to do some of the things we've been doing before. But I am in support of a deadline to have the discussion.
Hi. Okay, so I know this is my first time here and speaking, but
You're an official member.
I would like to say that I'm going to.
Make sure that
Lowell is
talking to the mic.
Sorry.
That's the
Lowell
way
is,
on TV.
listen, I'm very proud of being from Lowell. It is, and it's a beautiful city, everything. But I also understand that there's some things that are kind of in flux. And so for right now, for my personal space, I feel like giving like hard deadlines, I feel like there's also a lot of things that are going on outside that we may not realize. And so I would just like to just put that out there as just something to consider. That's all.
Different projects also have different timelines, right? And so they may not expect to use, like, I don't know who it was, a member at the other table had mentioned that, they were going to come back and ask for more money over several different years. I would like to see a deadline that's somehow tied to their original expectation of use, that would set these different projects up with different deadlines. I don't know how easy that is, but if that can be done without it being more administrative work also, then that'd be great.
Well, I think that we absolutely have the authority as a committee to, when we are making our recommendations, in the same way that we have the ability to determine some of the terms of the deed restrictions for affordability on the housing projects, for example, we could look at each individual recommendation and align some sort of a performance timeline with it. And yeah, you're right. They're going to be ones where, if they aren't started within 2 years, the project doesn't look like it's really taking off. There could be other ones where it's obvious that this is the leverage funding they need first, and it's going to take them a long time to put more money together, and we shouldn't penalize them for that. And so we'll set an appropriate timeline. But the idea that the council might, or this committee might establish some deadline seems to make sense to me as well, especially if that aligns better with the required sort of contracting rules that the city has to follow as well.
I agree, communication is key, and if you have constant communication, then at least we're all in the loop.
Maybe we could consider some kind of appeal process as well, that, somebody's getting ready to put the shovel in the ground. Is there this deadline that we picked out of who knows really where kind of looms, and we pull the rug out from under them just before they're about to start? I mean, they know it's coming, of course, because it's a hard deadline set, but some opportunity for them to plead their case and us to push this.
Yeah, we could say that the deadline is not that the funds get immediately taken away, but that the applicant is required to come back to the committee. And then the committee either recommends continuing to reserve the funds for that project, or asking them to get back into the queue for future years.
I'd like to set a deadline with the opportunity to appeal, because that way, if for whatever reason we don't see them, we don't have to go looking.
We don't ever have to go looking. There's a deadline and they don't show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to comment that I believe it's a very good idea to have it, instead of the funds just being taken away, that deadline creates an opportunity for them to come back before us, and then for us to take a vote to move forward with pulling that funds. I think that's a good way to approach this.
Would that help with your administrative challenge?
Yeah,
Would it make it harder?
No, I actually think that would be really helpful. I think we realized the first year that 1 year was not enough, just based on the creation of the grant agreement, getting all the signatures in place, doing the accounts, all of that kind of stuff. 1 year wasn't a reasonable amount of time, frankly, for any type of project. Certainly not like a housing project or anything like that, but even, the open space projects, like a single year was turning out to be kind of difficult. So we had, at least internally in DPD, had been batting around the idea of having everybody get a 2-year term in that initial agreement, and then, as others have said, maybe allowing, if there's concern from the applicant or the awardee at that point, that isn't going to be reasonable, then that would prompt them to sort of request to get on our agenda, to make the case for the possibility of an extension, and then this group could determine whatever that is. Because again, we could give them another 2 years, or we could say we really need to see progress within 6 months if you're really that close before we'll commit, for another year, or whatever that is. So I think if we do a term, it can be sort of standard, but then the discussion after the applicant comes into us can really that would be their time to come back and say, look, this is the development schedule that I'm working with now, and this is our plan. And so then any extension request could be determined off of that additional discussion, but like everybody gets at least 2 years to kind of get going, I think is probably where I'm falling down on this.
So you're, for clarity, your 2 years is to commence something, not to spend all the money, or is it to spend all the money?
No, I think, to me, I think 2 years and showing us that you've spent money is, to me, progress and means they're doing something. I think even 2 years, frankly, sometimes for a housing project could still not be enough time, or a historic preservation project of like the scale that Smith Baker, for example, is. So I think 2 years for me would be that there was a draw on funds, that they have shown progress by drawing funds.
The only additional comment, I think that's a very good idea, that would to potentially leave the flexibility for us upon approval to extend that deadline, to say, we can tell from experience that maybe we should set it at 3 years. So when making the vote for the first time, we have the ability to say, we're gonna push this one to 3 years or something along those lines. Other than that, I think it's a great idea.
Yep. That all sounds good. Do we need to like formalize something of this as a policy to vote on, or do we just need to take this under advisement and?
I don't think so. It sounds like the will of the committee is to take the deadline for each project as it comes, so I don't think there would need to be like a standardized vote tonight.
Okay, and we would vote, I think we should all just remember this conversation come in probably January, and when we're making recommendations, we should
Include the deadline in the
revisit
vote.
this to figure out what the appropriate deadlines are. I would love to see a little bit of data, and I know we're trying to do this to lessen the work on the staff, but I'm going to do the opposite for a moment here, and I apologize for that. But I would love to see like a list of all the projects that we've awarded funds to over the 4 or 5 years we've been doing this, and when the grant agreement sort of finally got signed, and then when they actually spent their first money, to take a look and see if 2 years is fine for most, or if almost no housing project ever commences in 2 years, or whatever that story is. Can we let the data tell us that a little bit and inform it? I don't think we need that until January, so plenty of time.
Seems like if we're going to make a decision to have a deadline, we should have it be a standard 2-year deadline with each project's opportunity to extend during discussion. I don't know. If we're going to put a deadline on every project, so we should have a baseline that then they can plead their case for a longer option.
We may. I might agree with that, but I don't, until I see the
Yeah,
data.
yeah,
I
no,
don't know what
totally.
the right
And I'm not
number
arguing
is.
for it to be
That's-
2 years
yeah.
exactly, but it seemed if we're going to be clawing back funds, theoretically, it should be standard with an opportunity to prolong.
Well, let's look forward to continuing this conversation in January.
Very good.
Does that sound good? All right. We're still asking the planning board for further comments, but I don't think we have any other agenda items. So unless there is any other business? No? Then I think we need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. I assume it's all in favor.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Re-